And then it hit me. I feel like this woman is actually just as narcissistic as him.
They need attention and validation, and if others will not give it to them voluntarily or to sometimes the unreasonable standards that they demand, they will manipulate, coerce, bully, guilt trip, and shame in order to get it.
When they lose control over that person they are focused on, they really do try and expose that person so much, even to their own detriment. They make themselves look like a fool.
So what advice do you have to give to other women that you're charging them £5,000 to £7,000?
$4,997. She is nice enough to give us a $3 discount from $5,000, and that is because Naiajackson really loves us.
All she needs is 200 women and she's a millionaire.
Boy.
Ladies, please, don't do it. Don't do it.
Have some self-respect. Hey family, welcome back to our channel. We are Velvet Devotion, aka Mr. and Mrs. B. For anyone watching for the first time, we are Christian worship leaders here in our home church in London in the UK. This channel is all about encouraging artists and helping them to understand the struggles that they may face due to their creative personalities. So, thank you so much for sticking around. Sorry we've been away for a little while, had a few things to sort out, so we appreciate you sticking with us on this journey. Mrs. B, what is the interesting thing that we are talking about today?
So, as some of you may already know, we have been, unfortunately, witnessing the decline of Naiajackson.
Okay.
Yes, she is the wife or ex-wife, I'm not sure if they're actually divorced yet, of Derrick Jackson. He was a relationship guru who turned out to be a fraud, and basically I think initially everyone really felt sorry for Naiajackson, but now as time has gone on, she's just as much of a narcissist as he is. So let me just put a bit of a disclaimer out there. We're not diagnosing anyone, we're not saying that this is 100% fact, this is all alleged. However, when you actually look at Naiajackson's most recent interview and you listen to the things that she says, and you see the complete turnaround from the bonnet of salvation, from the cursing of the children and killing of families.
May the mercies of God be withdrawn from you. May your husbands and wives become widows. Let your children become fatherless. Let your seed become vagabonds on the earth.
When you really see that turnaround, you realize very quickly that this woman is not as sweet and naive as we may have once thought. So yeah, when I basically first started out hearing about the fact that Derrick Jackson was married, obviously I pitied his wife. I really felt sorry for her. And then when he did that horrendous video of her sitting there in a bonnet, I was like, wow, the levels of disrespect for you to bring your wife online in an online situation like this. You lied to us in the first place, and now she's sitting here just looking completely out of it in a bonnet. It was shocking. However, hearing Janaea speak the way she spoke and hearing her take on everything, I actually now believe that was Naiajackson's way of trying to narcissistically manipulate her husband. And I'm going to further explain that as we go through the video we're about to watch. But it's crazy because when I first started looking at the most recent video that she's done, most recent interview, I was thinking, why would you come out now and say any of this stuff? Why would you say this about your husband? Why are you exposing yourself? Why now? Why this particular time? And then it hit me. I feel like this woman is actually just as narcissistic as him. Jesus specifically says to us as Christians, you see people and you know them by their fruits. So if you are a Christian and you're a creative person, you're saying that you're a Christian, you're openly putting yourself out as a Christian, and then you are selling women a course for £5,000 or dollars. Yeah, she's out here selling women a course for $5,000.
Please bear in mind that Miss Jackson is still not divorced from her husband and only counterfiled after he left her. It was literally a few months ago that she seemed to be losing her mind, but is now healed enough to be coaching other women on how to profit from their pain. Something is not quite adding up.
And what it seems like to me is she's trying to use Derrick Jackson's audience against him. It seems like she wanted to shame him further because he left her. Because I do not believe that this woman would have left Derrick Jackson if he hadn't left her. Bear in mind, you didn't even deal with the situation properly yourself. This man left you,
right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you didn't deal with the situation. So what advice do you have to give to other women that you're charging them £5,000 to £7,000? Like, it's ridiculous.
5 to 7.
Yeah, some people are saying 5, some people are saying 7. I'm gonna put some clips in here.
It's going to be a lot of money. You see, let's actually look at this. It's a one-on-one coaching, profit from your pain. Naiajackson, how much is it? Drum roll, please. $4,997. She is nice enough to give us a $3 discount from $5,000, and that is because Naiajackson really loves us. That's right? So here we have, for the first section, there's the first step to healing after infidelity. Let's be real. I'll bust out windows of your car. Who hurt you? Uncovering your unforgiveness. And then if you want to do like the recovery boot camp, there's 2 payments of $495 a month. Actually, this is a full-fledged business. And if you're able to really join this movement, if you're a hurt lady, if she can get, let's say, just 200 of you ladies to pay for this, it's almost $1 million. Can I get a cha-ching sound effect?
That's the best part of a first year at a uni.
It's ridiculous.
That's the price that you pay
here in England. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so I feel that this woman wanted to not only shame Derrick further, and don't get me wrong, I am in no way, shape or form a Derrick Jackson fan. I never liked him even before he got exposed. But I think she is as bad as him. And I think it would be very unwise for any woman to spend their money on anything that she is doing. But anyway, we actually wanted to look at the definition of a narcissist and what a narcissist actually does when they lose control over you. And I just thought it was interesting. When we watched this video, we just thought, do you know what? There are a lot of similarities here. And before you go spending £5,000, okay, £5,000 to £7,000, watch this video and save your money.
So first of all, narcissism can be characterized by a sense of entitlement. There's being self-absorbed, being disagreeable, and either being highly sensitive or highly resistant to criticism. They can be exploitative, manipulative, and they lack empathy.
Just from that sentence, that first part alone, when Naiajackson was being told that her husband was cheating on her, even though she already knew, she went out of her way to pronounce a curse on people and their families because they were speaking the names of Danae and Derrick Jackson.
Every person speaking against the names Naiajackson and Derrick Jackson in mockery, accusation, slanders, and lies, may the mercies of God be withdrawn from you. May your husbands and wives become widows. Let your children become fatherless. Let your seed become vagabonds on the earth. Let the words of your mouth and your words of your hands be returned back to you. Let it go down your throat and choke you slowly until your days become few on the earth. The word of God says, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. You've been warned.
What follows is a brief construction montage.
But when she revealed in 2021, was you blindsided by that?
No, because he had already confessed to the 11 women that he had been with, which the 2 that were on there, or the 3 that were on there, had already been on his list of people that he gave me. And we had already been working on dealing with it and all of that. And so that information wasn't new, but what happens is that, it uncovers that wound all over again, right?
Yeah.
Because not only on a private level, but now on a public level.
Just to be clear, Miss Jackson was quoting Psalm 109, written by King David while he was being persecuted unjustly. The prayer is asking God to punish those who were speaking falsely against him and persecuting him for no reason. Not only did Miss Jackson know that the allegations against her husband were true, but most people speaking out against him were in support of her, attempting to help her get away from him because of his continuous infidelity. You can't just quote Bible verses out of context and use them as curses when you're angry. This is wrong and ungodly.
We can all be a little bit like that from time to time, but with narcissism, with pathological narcissism, what we see is these behaviors are consistent, they are persistent, they are pervasive, they are constant. So what happens when someone is on to them, someone figures them out, is a reasonable question to ask, given that they can be quite vindictive. Sometimes we've no idea how they might react. But if you've been in a relationship with someone who's narcissistic now, whether that was a partnership, a friendship, or perhaps you were raised in a narcissistic family, you have a fair idea they are not going to react well once they feel they can no longer control you. So to understand that, remember that narcissistic people tend to value themselves based on how others admire them and pander to them. They have a very poor sense of self and very poor insight. They need attention and validation, and if others will not give it to them voluntarily or to sometimes the unreasonable standards that they demand, they will manipulate, coerce, bully, guilt trip, and shame in order to get it.
So this is very true. What, from our experience, we've seen is that a lot of people who are narcissistic, when they lose control over the person that they really are focused on, they really do try and expose that person so much, even to their own detriment. Like, they make themselves look like a fool for sticking around, and they I don't think they really understand how bad it makes them look, and the type of things they're doing, all just to bring down the other person. And it's this kind of victim mentality they will use to try and make themselves seem like they have been hard done by, when really, when you really deep what's happening and you think about what they're actually saying, you'd ask yourself, why did you stay there and endure this when you didn't have to? Like with Naiajackson, what was so amazing, special about this man who was treating you this way, that you felt it was so absolutely necessary for you to stick with him? And as you're a Christian, beyond the boundaries of the covenant that you made before God, so because the Bible literally says you should not separate from your wife except for sexual immorality, and it goes the same way for women with men. So your husband has been sexually immoral multiple times, and you just felt you're just going to subject yourself to that.
Okay, so there is a life of glam and riches and fame. Like when you have some status, it comes with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with access to stuff. It comes with like this extra treatment. It comes with money. You know, I had not experienced any type of level of that. And I'm like, I've been all them Disney movies paying off. I'm living the life of the rich and famous. Look at him. He's fine and he's doing this, and I get to stay at home, and like I was a whole Atlanta housewife without being on the show.
Folks, please don't misunderstand. We know that many women struggle to come out of toxic relationships, but that is not the problem here. The issue is that Miss Jackson is still in the midst of this situation and is trying to charge other women an extortionate amount of money to learn how to heal from a situation she is still going through. She even admitted that she decided to stay with him after becoming a Christian and realizing their relationship did not have the right foundations in the first place. As someone who is supposed to know the Bible so well, she should have mentioned at least once that she was concerned about her husband's salvation, as this would have been the first thing any Christian would normally focus on when it comes to saving or entering into a marriage.
An internal world full of envy and shame. And the strange thing is, they tend to act in very shameful ways in order to escape that feeling of shame. And those behaviours, things like devaluing, rejecting, punishing, cheating, scorning, and so on, these are often the very things that drive people away. So some of the common ways in which they behave whenever they do lose control over someone is, first of all, believe it or not, they might actually apologize. They might actually say they're sorry. And the thing is, they probably are, but not necessarily sorry for the things they've done or for the pain they've caused. More often than not, they are sorry for the consequences that they now face. They are sorry that they're being abandoned. They are sorry that others can now see them as they really are. Or there may be an apology, but it comes with some kind of excuse, such as, it's not me, it's my anxiety, I can't help it, it's my illness, it's not my fault, it's my addiction. Or there may be a caveat of some kind, like, I am sorry, but after all, you did say something 10 years ago that I found quite offensive.
Two things that he just said there that are also very specific to narcissistic people and people with extreme selfishness. So the first thing he said is that a lot of the time people in this position, they will apologize, but they don't actually mean the apology. It's almost like they're using the apology as a way to manipulate you. And it's fascinating because I think one of the reasons people initially believed this naiajackson interview is because she was specifically seeming like she was taking accountability. She was seeming like she was taking accountability for her part in the marriage and why. Do you understand? It seemed like she was being very genuine. But actually, I believe she was just using that to then be able to get the money out of people's pockets. The second thing that he said, saying something like they'll apologize but bring up something that happened 10 years ago, right, that you did, which made them do what they did. If you really listen to what naiajackson says, what she did was she started from the beginning of how terrible Derrick was as a person,
right,
and how terrible he was treating her and how terrible all of these things were and how terrible her life was. And it's like she's taking accountability, but there is no accountability because this is really why I behaved this way.
And now for the low price of $5,000, you too can learn Miss Jackson's life lessons.
Very sincere. They tend to last but a moment, a minute, a day, a week even. They generally go back to doing the same things again. The very highly skilled ones just find a different way of doing the same thing.
Like finding a new way to get money from the same women your husband took advantage of.
Or it might not necessarily be an apology. It might sound like they're trying to reason with you. So you imagine someone's going grey rock, they're just giving one-word answers, or maybe someone's just gone no contact, they're not responding. They may get a text or an email, and it'll usually go along the lines of, I've no idea what I've done to hurt you, but I'll always love you.
Yes. Listen, if you've ever dealt with a narcissist, this is something that is a very, very common trait. They will act like they'll give you some space for a time, and then all of a sudden they'll pop up and act like nothing has ever happened. And then the alternative is they'll pop up again and be like, I don't know what's happened, but I'm gonna love you forever. They'll act like you're the one with a problem. They'll act like you've treated them so badly that they can't go on. But somehow they're the one they're doing the right thing, and they're letting you know that the door is open for you to come back to them.
What follows is a brief construction montage.
Now that this is ground like level 0, now we can
Rebuild.
move forward and rebuild. And so it's from there, it's like, okay, I have to make a conscious choice every day to not think about or not to re-bring it up.
Miss Jackson is talking about rebuilding her relationship with her husband through therapy when he had already admitted to having affairs with at least 100 women during their relationship. It's difficult to believe that God would tell you to stay with someone like this when they are unsaved and unrepentant. It's also against biblical principle. His words may have said he cared, but his actions were clear, and she admits to knowing this. When you look at things from a different perspective, this story can easily go from her being abused and mistreated to a simple case of idolatry. Wanting someone or something so badly, i.e. a husband or a lifestyle, that you're willing to do anything to have it, even if it means that those things come before God and your spiritual journey. Narcissism often comes in the form of a victim mentality. Instead of leaving, they stay to get what they want and seek vengeance when they don't get their way anymore.
And I was like, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna say, I forgive him for anything that I've been holding on to, or has been coming out of me. I did that. I said, I forgive you. Anything like that I have been doing that has shown unforgiveness, I forgive you for that. And the next words out of his mouth was, or via text, should I say, was, I was done with us in this marriage after I said that. And I was like, okay, Lord, this is what forgiveness gives you.
In that, you'll get a lot of word salad, and within that word salad, there will be a veiled threat which could be summed up as, and I'm going to let other people know what you're like. By the way, I'll always love you.
That is one thing that narcissists do. Their strength is in getting people on their side. Their strength is found in like what we and between me and Mrs. B, like we have this way of knowing, like when you deal with a narcissist, they will have minions, and their minions will come out of the woodwork and they'll be like, you know, you should speak to this person again. You know, you should really try and make amends with this person. And you will be sitting there going, I have not spoken to you one word about my relationship with this individual. Mm-hmm. But somehow you know everything about what's happened. Mm-hmm. Or you know everything from the side of the other end, the person, the narcissist. Mm-hmm. And you're coming to me saying, yeah, you should really try and make amends. You should really try and sort this out. And boy, you're sitting there going, so I've given this all my space. I've tried to stay away. Yet somehow this is not stopping. This is not leaving me alone. This is still going on it's bubbling under the surface.
And don't get me wrong, we are in no way, once again, condoning the actions of Derrick Jackson, okay? No. But what we're saying is, you can see that Derrick Jackson numerous times tried to get away from this woman, okay?
Towards the end, before I even left and all that, when I knew I would start showing up to the condo randomly and like, let's do it, you know? And he was like, no, I just want to talk. And I want, you know, so you want to talk. So he wants to talk to me, but he is smashing these ladies hard.
You can see that he never really loved her, okay? That's what the situation was. This woman was obsessed with him from the beginning, and he settled with her probably because he felt maybe she'd earned it by that point, or maybe because he felt that, you know, this is someone who I might as well just be with because, you know, she has put in time, she probably will be a good mother, whatever. But what is the reason why Naiajackson decided to come out and just speak? Like, I'm not being funny. Don't you think your children are going to be able to come and see this interview? Like, your children, when they're old enough, are literally going to be able to find out all of this information about how you divorced. And what's crazy is, like, it's one thing to know that Derrick Jackson lied to people. It's one thing to know that he was quote unquote scamming. It's one thing to see you sitting there in your bonnet and doing all these weird things. It's another thing for you to come out shamefully and say that you were allowing a man to sleep with so many women to the point that you were trying to mimic the things that these women were doing. Yeah. Don't you have shame? Don't you realize that your children are going to see this? Do you think your children want to see that?
It's an intense self-involvement, an intense self-centeredness, where that individual is so focused on what that person or whoever it is doing to them.
There's no consideration.
There's
for anyone
no
else
consideration
or for consequences
for anything. Not how their actions will then affect the other, like if they've got kids or if they've got other family members, like, and what they would, again, to their detriment, people's respect for you will drastically go down. Because a lot of people who are narcissistic, they come across as lovely, bubbly people who everyone likes and everyone's cool with, because they validate themselves based on how other people perceive them and how people view them. Mm-hmm. But then somehow, if that one person that they're trying to control, if they can't control them, they will destroy their whole reputation. Their whole reputation in order to shame you, to get back some kind of control over you. And look, if I would just say as a warning to anyone who is dealing with someone who is like that, obviously don't be doing what Derrick Jackson is doing. Don't be going around sleeping with women and stuff like that. But if you're dealing with that type of person, be strong. Be strong in knowing your worth is not validated by
And you're
what
not
other
crazy.
people. You're not crazy. Your worth is not validated by what other people think of you. So if this person tries to bring you down, it's not going to bring you down completely. And make good relationships with people. If you can make a good relationship with someone, they'll know, like, when this person comes along, like, oh, you know, this person, and they're trying to whisper in your ear, oh, he's doing this to me, he's doing that to me. They will know, like, well, that don't seem right, because I know you, and you would never do that. Like, that's what you need to do. Strengthen your other connections and relationships.
And what's interesting about this, oftentimes creative people, because obviously our channel is about helping artists and not just helping artists in terms of helping them to know what not to do in a situation, but helping people who are not artistic or who are not necessarily as creative understand how artistic people and creative people think and how they work and how they do things. And what's sad is when you have a narcissistic person who happens to also be an artistic or creative person, they're actually more believable.
Oh yeah.
Because of the fact, because if you think about it, the way God has designed us as artistic people, as creative people, we naturally stand out. We naturally draw people in with our charisma, with our talent, with our gifting, all of these things. And what tends to happen is when somebody who is like that then is also a narcissist, people tend to conflate their characteristics and their actual character with their talents and their gifting, which are two completely separate things.
Completely different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you might be a person, for example, who, let's say, I don't know, you have a friend who's a lawyer, and this friend happens to also be, you know, a perfect house guest or host. Yeah. She loves having parties, or he loves having parties. He loves, you know, people's company and all these things. But then when you actually go deeper, and once you've known them for a bit longer and you start to analyze what they're doing, you realize that the reason they love their position as a lawyer is because they actually love the validation that being a lawyer gives them.
Right.
Yeah. Because in our everyday lives, it's not everybody that's going to be a singer, a YouTube influencer. There are loads of people who are creative and artistic who are actually not even in the right career path. They might have just chosen this path because of, you know, various reasons, right? Various different reasons. And it's fascinating because you would look closer at that person and realize, actually, this person loves hosting parties because they don't want to be alone.
Right.
They're so afraid of being alone. They're so afraid of not having validation that they're even willing to be happy and joyous at times when you shouldn't be happy and joyous.
Boy.
Like funerals, like when people are sick, they're just happy to have the attention. And they know that if they have parties, if they host things like that, they will very easily get people in, because people like free food, they like free music, they like a free house,
It's
you
true.
know? And so
That's deep, man.
it's fascinating, because when you really look at it from that perspective and you look at Naiajackson, you can see that she craves validation so much, and at the same time she can't even see how her own actions shame her. Like, how can you go in a 2-year period from being absolutely crazy, cursing everyone on the internet, looking absolutely like you're completely out of it, to then pulling yourself together, having a full face of makeup, speaking softly and directly about your abuse and about how you were treated, and because you know how to pull yourself together to make yourself look good, to make yourself look like the victim. That's what it is.
Here's what it is, yeah. A lot of narcissistic people, it takes intelligence to be narcissistic, to a degree, because they're very calculated. They know exactly how to win people over. They're basically in the business of sales, yeah? Think of it that way. They're in the business of sales, and the sale is them, yeah? They're selling you them.
And making other people look bad
and making other people look bad. So they're making them seem like they're the person that you should be friends with. They're the person that you should believe when it comes to disputes. They're the person that you should come to when it's a good time and whatever. That's what they're very clever at getting you on their side. Their whole business is winning people over to be on their side all the time. It's very, very deep. And so that's how she can pull herself together and get people now and try and get people to pay her course. There probably will be someone who pays for that course because of the influence that she probably does have. There probably will be one or two one or two women that will pay for that course.
All she needs is 200 women and she's a millionaire. Boy. Ladies, please, don't do it. Don't do it.
Have some self-respect. So guys, look, there you have it. We will link this video down in the description box below, so go and watch the full thing. We're here talking about this situation because it's something that's happened right now, but it's also something that happens far too often. There are far more narcissistic people around than we realize, and this is something that me and Mrs. B are probably going to talk about a bit more, is that, you know, as Christians, we believe that we're living in the last days, and what's happening is that, you know, as the Bible said, people are becoming lovers of themselves, and when people become lovers of themselves, narcissistic behavior is bound to increase and to spread between people that you wouldn't even think necessarily, like people that you would think, oh, that person's just a normal person. No, selfishness is at the heart of all of our sin. It's at the heart of everything that we do that is wrong. And so what we need to worry about is, are we slipping into that? Please analyze yourself on a daily basis. Make sure that you are staying grounded, that you are keeping down to earth, that you are praying, and you are staying sane out here, please.
And I will just say, as creative people, part of the reason why I believe that creative people can often fall into this is because there's a lack of fulfillment in their lives. Because there's a drastic lack of fulfillment, they feel that they need to fill this hole that they are missing with people and things and family and everything that they can try and control, instead of filling the hole with God and his purpose for their lives.
100%.
So I will just leave it with saying this: if your life is at a point where you're a creative person and everything around you seems to be crumbling, everyone around you doesn't want to be around you, maybe the issue is not everyone else. Maybe take a look at yourself and think, is everything in my life the way that it is because of the decisions I've made? Or is it just that somehow I am right and everyone else is wrong? And I think artists, because they are so grand and so, you know, attractive in their talents and giftings, it's very difficult. They can believe their own lies, is what I'm saying. They can believe their own propaganda. And I think we need to kind of understand as creative people that we're designed to do more than just be selfish. The very nature of our gifts, the very nature of everything that we have is to help others, is to bless others with the gifts and the creativity that we have. Like Derrick Jackson, if he was actually doing what he was supposed to be doing, he would be helping women in an amazing way. Same with naiajackson, because I do believe that they're both very creative to be able to do what they've done. And now, instead of, you know, us reaping the benefits of whatever wisdom God could have given them, there's nothing but shame and blame. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. We're hoping to make a lot more content coming up in the next few weeks, so please stay tuned. If you like this video, hit the like button, leave a comment, please subscribe, share this with your friends, family, whoever you feel this will be relevant to, and God bless you. Have a good day. Bye.